I think, Ian, we are now entering the eighth week of shutdown, and the costs are increasing. And I think it's estimated that the government is spending 14 billion a month for furloughing over 7 million workers. The rate of infection is slowing, but much slower than the rise before the peak. The government is looking at reducing some of the restrictions, so those unable to work from home can return to work, and schools are being opened up. Do you think it is a risky strategy?
Yes, it is a very risky strategy the government has adopted because one, the coronavirus has not gone away, with a second danger of another outbreak. There's a second wave of coronavirus and possibly a third wave. One or two countries have reported second and third outbreaks, albeit at a much lower rate. But the result is, at the end of the day, people will die as a result of. What this government is doing is trying to save money when they spend more money on defence, etc. They want to try and get industry and some of the smaller industries and businesses back up and running to save them money on compensations to workers on lost wages and what have you. But unfortunately, it's a short-term strategy which will backfire on the government because more and more people will be at risk. There'll be a greater strain on the hospital service, and as a result, more people will die. The government should be brought to task for what they've done.
As factories open, transport would present a real challenge, as public transport is not suited for keeping social distance necessary to keep infection under control. This, with people returning to work and forced to use public transport, could lead to infection rate increasing. Is this reckless?
Yes, it is reckless. Look at London today. London Underground packed with commuters. And, quite simply, forced ventilation in a tunnel, perfect breeding ground for any type of virus. Look at motor buses. Again, upper and lower deck, some ventilation, some of it forced, some of it natural through windows. Again, the perfect breeding ground for any type of virus and flu strain, let alone coronavirus. So more people will be at risk, commuters will be at risk, and workers in transport industry, the drivers, guards, and what have you, will also be at risk. Look how many people have died already in London on the transport system. 7, 8, 9 drivers. How many on the railways? Well, the one reported today, an assault. The lady got spat in the face and died of coronavirus. So it goes to show there are still dangers around, and this government should be brought to task, like I say, on the reckless policy of getting people back to work to try and save themselves some money.
Some of the workplaces where workers might be returning from today may not be safe. What rights have they got, and how can those rights be exercised if the workers are not unionized?
Well, it's a two-part answer to that one. You've got the Health and Safety at Work Act 1974 and 1996. They've got rights under various trade union health and safety legislation. Myself, health and safety rep for 34 years before I retired. The management have got to take risk assessments in those factories where they are unionised to ensure the safety of their own workforce and their staff and themselves. And if we have a unionised factory, then yes, they can be brought to task if those risk assessments are faulty or false. Now, in the case of a non-unionised factory, health and safety at work still applies, but those workers, if they have any gumption, should report the matters to the health and safety executive. They have every right to do so. But even in factories which are not unionised, managements are still compelled by law to take risk assessments. And if in all cases, workers or management deem it unsafe to return to work in those types of establishments, they should not do so. The trade unions have taken a strong stand on this point, and we should support that trade union stance.
So, Ian, what do you think the workers who have no union representation can do to ensure their safety at work?
Well, they've got Section 44 of the Employment Rights Act 1996, where if they do not feel it's safe to go into a business or establishment or a manufacturing, they should send a letter in writing to the HR department, that's the Human Resources or Personnel Department, stating the reasons why under that Act they do not feel safe to return to work. But again, the management of those businesses need to take a risk assessment. If they do it properly, openly and thoroughly and honestly, and realise it's not safe for those people, staff or the management to work in those establishments, they should again not do so. Non-unionised factories do have some rights, but it's only the presence of a trade union that can enforce and ensure that the law and its risk assessments and all other safety factors are carried out. So that's the lesson that needs to be learned, and the lesson that we need to put out to the people in employment. You need a trade union base behind you to ensure that you are in an establishment, a business, where it is safe to work at all times, in all conditions, including the current coronavirus outbreak.
Ian, you're the president of Birmingham Trades Council. I understand you've invited some members of the National Education Union to actually speak on this issue. Can you give us some details of that meeting?
Yes, we've sent invitations out to the NEU and quite a few other trade unions for them to speak on this and other issues, because it's all pertinent to safety at work, whether at schools, businesses, public meetings. Everyone's at risk here, and everyone needs to be fully aware of what their rights are. We are talking to trade unions currently, trade union branches, and ensuring that everyone is fully aware of the situation and fully aware of their rights, which is the important point, fully aware of their rights. Because a lot of people are walking around, despite an opportunist element, who would like to return to work, which we're aware of, but they're as much a danger to anyone as a faulty risk assessment, as a faulty health declaration. This place is safe, no it isn't safe, and so on. So we need to be mindful about that, and we need to make sure that the trade unions are all singing from the same hymn sheet and getting the same message across. Schools, public buildings, public meetings, manufacturers, businesses, shops. If it's not safe to work, along with public transport, then you should not do so. Or if they do work in certain types of establishments, you need to ensure that correct PPE, protective personal equipment, is supplied and functioning and replaceable. We've had scandals already where PPE has not proven to be the case, insufficient for the job. Those people, those managements, in my view, should be prosecuted for what they're doing. And ultimately, the government carries that responsibility to ensure that everyone in confined areas, like in hospitals, where they do need to work, are thoroughly checked and ensured that they have the correct PPE at all times to make sure that they do carry the work out safely, efficiently, and in the interest of their own good health and for the benefit of everyone around them. We need to be clear about that. So that's a message, not just for the NEU, one or two other unions, that's a message for all the trade unions and everyone else. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ian. Thank you.